What is up, you guys? It is Zach, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about Mario Party Superstars and what future DLC ideas I have. Now, I have made a couple other videos speculating on potential DLC for the future of Mario Party Superstars, but now that the game is out and we have a bunch of information in terms of what people have data mined and just some information that people have, I wanted to go in and just kind of talk about my personal ideas for what they could do with Mario Party Superstars DLC. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe, all that stuff down below. It would truly mean a lot to me as we are drawing near to 4,000 subscribers, so hopefully you guys will do that. All that stuff is down below. So without any further ado, let's jump on into the warp pipe and talk about Mario Party Superstars DLC. So the first topic of conversation that I want to have is about the characters. Now, here is the character select screen that we currently have. Well, firstly, DataMine suggests that there are spots for 3 more characters to be added on the roster based on the numbering of the stickers that we see that the game has to offer. There are spots for 3 more characters. Personally, I don't think there will be 3 more characters, mostly because Mario Party games typically only have an even number of playable characters, so I'm actually going to only choose 2 new playable characters. And plus, looking at this screen, we can see that 2 playable characters rather than 3 just fits so nicely. And I think that it is possible that if we do get DLC characters, it will be 2. So the first character I think we could get in DLC is Dry Bones. Dry Bones I feel like is kind of obvious because Dry Bones is a character that's been around a really long time. And Dry Bones isn't like some other characters like Boo and Hammer Bro, etc., that are NPCs of the game. Dry Bones is nowhere to be seen in this game. So I think it is very possible for us to get our little bony friend back into Mario Party, and honestly, I think if Dry Bones comes around, I would play as Dry Bones quite a bit. Plus, they already have his model and animations from Super Mario Party, so why not? The next character I have is Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong, I was kind of teetering and tottering about putting in here, mostly because of the fact that Diddy Kong is a very new character, only being in 2 games before Superstars, being Super Mario Party and Mario Party Star Rush. But Diddy Kong's popularity is definitely there, and I think it could be very possible that Diddy Kong could make his way into Mario Party Superstars as potential DLC. So to me, this is the roster that, in my personal opinion, just kind of makes sense, if we have character DLC, and I hope that we see it. Next up are the boards. Now, DataMine suggests that there are files for 2 additional boards, on top of the 5 that we already have. So since Mario Party 3 only has 1 board of representation as of now, I think it makes sense for at least one of those boards to be from Mario Party 3. And the board I've chosen is Chilly Waters. Chilly Waters is a relatively simple board, but the main gimmick is that there's this ice pond in the very middle of the board, where if more than 1 character stands on it at the same time, then it will crack and they'll both be sent back to the start, I believe. It's a kind of simple, but also kind of cool board, pun intended, that I think would be cool to see in Mario Party Superstars. So the second board I think they're going to do, I'm presuming they're going to do a Bowser board, right? A Bowser board just makes sense, in my personal opinion. So the question is, will it be Bowser's Magma Mountain, or will it be Bowser Land? Personally, I think Bowser Land would make it in. Bowser Land is just the more popular board. It's a really difficult board too, with lots of different contraptions and moving parts, like the Bowser Parade, or the blooper circle you can go in to get the star and be stuck in there for a few turns. There's just a lot to Bowser Land, and I personally think if they were to bring a Bowser board back, it would be this one. So now we are in the free play area of Mount Minigames, where we're going to be looking at the minigames. And personally, I think it would make sense for them to add 20 more minigames based on these open spots that I think they have here, based on the Mario Party GameCube games being 4 through 7. Because in the party mode, you could pick the GameCube pack so that all the minigames you play are from the GameCube, but there's really not that big of a selection. So I think offering more minigames to make the GameCube selection bigger just makes the most sense. So without any further ado, let's pop those minigames on the screen and, well, let's go through them. First up, we have Cliffhangers. Cliffhangers is a really fun 2v2 minigame where both players work together to scale a mountain, and when your controller vibrates, you have to hold on because then the wind will start to blow, and if you get hit by the wind and one of you isn't hanging on, then you're going to fall. Personally, I find this minigame to be really fun. I don't know why, I think it's just a great cooperative 2v2 minigame. Not much communication's required, but it just kind of makes you yell at each other when one person doesn't hang on at the right time, or when the wind, basically bluffs you and you hold on for no reason. I don't know, it's just a really fun minigame. Next up is Mr. Blizzards Brigade. This is a cool free-for-all survival minigame where you are skating on this ice and Mr. Blizzards are throwing snowballs at you left and right, and it's just a really fun and hectic minigame. I always kind of like those survival minigames, and I think the ones that they do have in Mario Party Superstars are really good, but I feel like some of them are just a little too easy. Like, I feel like Bombs Away is just a bit too easy for everyone to survive. So having Mr. Blizzard Brigade here can offer a little bit more of a difficult and competitive experience. Next up is Hop or Pop. This is a really cool 1v3 minigame where the objective is for the one person in the giant spike ball to pop everyone in the balloons. It's a pretty simple minigame, but I think it's a really fun one, and it offers another 1v3 minigame just to balance out, so we don't have too many 2v2s and free-for-alls. Next up is the Great Deflate. This is a really good teamwork minigame where you have to work to ground pound this inflatable thwomp down to size. Not too much teamwork is required here, you just need to make sure to maximize the height of your jump before you ground pound, but it's a really fun minigame. Next up is Free Throw. I'm personally not a huge fan of these sports-like minigames, but this one I honestly think is kind of fun. It's a free-for-all minigame where you're throwing basketballs, basically the sum of the story. It's really hard to get it into the middle, which I believe offers the most points. It's either the middle or the bottom, I don't know, but either way, it's a pretty tricky minigame to master, but a really fun one to play. Now we're moving on to minigames from Mario Party 5, the first of which being Popstar. Popstar is a really cool analysis free-for-all minigame where you're looking at 5 piranha plants, each one is doing a dance to a song, but one of them isn't quite doing the right dance, so it is your job to determine which piranha plant is doing the wrong dance. It's not based on timing and who does it first, it's just based on looking and seeing which one is doing it wrong. Personally, I think this minigame is better than one like, let's say, Odd Card Out, because it has the same basic premise, but everyone gets to participate, and it's just a little bit easier to have more of a competitive game with that. Next up is Hotel Goomba. This minigame, I don't know how it isn't in this game already, but the main objective is you're going through 3 floors of a hotel, but the Goombas are blocking your way, and you have to punch them in a certain way to make sure to give yourself a path so that you can get to the other side of the room. This is a really good free-for-all minigame, very fun, very competitive, and when you have to restart when you're in the very last room and everyone's right behind you, it really gets tense, and it's honestly such a fun minigame. Next up, Defuse or Lose, a great 2v2 minigame where you have to stop the fuses from getting a King Bob-omb before the other team. The first team who has their Bob-omb explode loses. It can get really tense if it's a really close game and you're getting towards the end, and honestly, it's just a really fun game all around, very balanced as well, in my opinion. Next up is Chomp Romp. I love this minigame. It's basically guiding your chain chomp from the start to the finish, and you have to do it in the most efficient way possible so that the other teammates don't beat you. You have to make sure to be a little strategic though on which ways, will take you longer, which ways you can cut through to make it shorter, and making sure your chain chomp doesn't bump into things. Lastly is Shock Absorbers, not to be confused with the Mario Party 7 Shock Absorbers, but this minigame is actually a duel minigame where 2 people are in an arena with amps, and they electrify and create little like lightning bolt things that connect each other. I don't know how else to describe it other than that, and you have to avoid them. It's a really good duel minigame. I know a lot of people like Countdown Pound and those other duel minigames from Mario Party 5, but I personally really like this one. This is the one I personally choose. Alright, so now we're on to the Mario Party 6 minigames, and the first minigame I have to talk about is, of course, Granite Getaway. I love this minigame. This minigame is such a good time. It's a free-for-all minigame where all the characters are running towards the camera and away from a giant boulder that's rolling after you. The obstacles are in front of the camera, so you have to have really quick reaction times to get over them. Personally, I would like to see them tweak this minigame to where the obstacles are a little more randomized, so it's not the same each and every single time you play, but this minigame is a load of fun nonetheless. Next up on the list is Control Shtick. Now, this one is kind of like Shy Guy Says, except a lot more intense, and in my opinion, I think it's better. Basically, there are 2 arrows that indicate which directions you should hold the left and right thumbsticks. And once this game gets going and the speed picks up, it can be really intense and frantic to get your sticks into the right position before the time runs out. Very fun game, I really hope they add it in. Next up is Snowball Brawl. Basically a 1v3 snowball match, not much else to say. It's really fun and can get really competitive, Like, you'd think that the 3 are so outmatched with the, you know, like 5 monkeys and the human player on the other side, but it's actually pretty even in my opinion. It just requires a lot of strategy and skill to make sure you actually knock out all the monkeys before they get you. Next up is Jump the Gun. In my personal opinion, one of the best 2v2 minigames in the whole entire Mario Party series. It requires so much coordination, cooperation, and just teamwork overall. The objective is that one person is shooting bullet bills to make a path for the other person to cross. Do you gamble it and make the gap bigger and expect the other person to jump across them, or do you try to make a more reliable path but at the expense of time and, you know, the other team might be able to get ahead of you? It's such a good minigame, and I really hope it would make it for DLC. Next up is Booed Off the Stage. This one is a really cool duel minigame where the objective is to survive the boos that are all coming at you from opposite ends of the stage. It's a pretty mindless minigame, but it's a really good one, and it doesn't really require much luck. It requires mostly skill. Next up is Mario Party 7, and the first minigame we have here is Track and Yield. And just like with Hotel Goomba, I am shocked this one isn't in automatically, because it's a really popular minigame. So for those of you who don't know, this minigame is a free-for-all minigame where all the players are running on a treadmill and hurdles will come out at them. Some of them are just normal hurdles, and some of them are electrified, and the electrified obviously stun you and you'll increase your chance of falling. It's a fun minigame, and I would really hope they'd add an endless mode, kind of like they did with Book Squirm and some other minigames, where basically the objective is to see how many hurdles you can actually jump over. Really fun minigame, I hope they add it in. Next up is Fun Run. I'm surprised this one wasn't in the top 100, and equally surprised it isn't here. It's a basic obstacle course where you're jumping spiny shells, you're avoiding things pushing you out, you're avoiding holes in the ground. It's just an overall really fun run, pun intended. Again, if they do DLC for this game, I'll be legitimately surprised if this one doesn't make it in. Next up is Funsicle Course. This is the only Bowser minigame I have on this list, which is actually kind of shocking, but this one I think makes sense. Funsicle Course, where you are running away from Koopa Kids shooting fire at you. Now, obviously, Koopa Kid would probably be replaced with Bowser Jr. here, but nevertheless, I think it's a super fun minigame. I actually really liked all the multiplayer minigames from Mario Party 7, particularly the Bowser multiplayer minigames. And I personally probably would have chosen Thunderwall, but a lot of people really like Funsicle Course, so I had to put it in here. Next up is Battery Ram. Now, Battery Ram is a cooperative 2v2 minigame, and just like Jump the Gun, I think it's a pretty good co-op 2v2 minigame. Basically, the objective is to get this giant ram from one side of the map to the other, but you have to coordinate your movements because that ram is too long to get around some of the corners. So you have to really work together. It's just a really fun 2v2. I hope they bring it back. Lastly, I have Ghost in the Hall. This is a really fun free-for-all minigame where the objective is basically just to get to the exit of the mansion. It's a huge maze with doors that'll trap you in certain areas, boos that'll scare you away, etc, etc. It's a really fun minigame. I hope they add it in. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop a like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. It would truly mean a lot, and it helps the channel grow and stay in the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, so until next time, guys, I will see you all in the next video.